Have you ever set really big, exciting goals, only to see them fade away after just a few days or weeks? You find yourself back at the starting point with a notebook full of plans that never became reality. You blame yourself. I lack discipline. I don't have enough determination. And then you fall back into the same old cycle, starting with energy, quitting halfway, regretting, and then starting all over again. The truth is, the problem doesn't lie in your goals. You don't lack goals, you lack a system. Goals are like a map, they show you the destination. But the system is the actual road you walk every day to get there. If you only have the map but no road, you'll stay stuck in place or get lost along the way. I want you to understand this. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits and systems that you live with daily. If your system only works when you're in a good mood, full of energy, then you'll collapse on the very first bad day. But if you build a strong system, you'll keep moving forward, whether it's sunny or rainy, whether you're happy or sad, tired or excited. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 principles to build a system instead of just setting goals. These aren't abstract theories, they are practical methods that will help you stay disciplined even when you have no motivation left. And I want you to keep this in mind. Stay until the end of the video, because Principle #7 will be the key that can transform your entire life. Principle 1. Lock in your habits, even on the bad days. Do you realize that anyone can perform well when they are full of energy, when the mood is high, when they feel encouraged, when everything is going smoothly? We can easily dive in and give our best. But life isn't always a cheerful melody. There will be mornings when you wake up with a heavy body, a tired mind, and drained spirit. And usually on days like that, most people give up. They skip the workout, postpone their work, and promise to make up for it tomorrow. But tomorrow repeats the same story, and gradually the once bright goals dissolve into thin air. The truth is, the problem isn't motivation. You don't fail because you lack desire or dreams. You fail because you lack a system. Successful people don't rely on emotions to take action, they rely on solid habits. The right habit should be like brushing your teeth daily. It doesn't need inspiration, it doesn't require thought, it's simply obvious. You don't ask, should I brush my teeth today? You just do it. In the same way, if you want success, you must make your important actions as obvious as brushing your teeth. I've seen countless people set huge goals, but they build their lives on shaky sand. They're excited for a few days or weeks, then collapse on the first bad day. They think they need more motivation, but what they really need are small habits strong enough to survive any circumstance. Instead of the goal, read 50 pages a day, create the system. Before going to bed, I'll read at least 2 pages. 2 pages may sound tiny, but it's the ticket that gets you through even the most exhausting nights. Or instead of promising, go to the gym 2 hours a day, commit to, at 7 a.m., I'll show up at the gym and move for 20 minutes. These small actions won't crush you on a bad day, yet they're powerful enough to keep the rhythm unbroken. In today's world, look at startup founders, people working in AI, or social media creators. They can't just create when they feel inspired, because investors, customers, and communities are always demanding. If they only worked on good days, the company would collapse, the YouTube channel would disappear, the AI project would be abandoned. What keeps them moving forward isn't fleeting excitement. It's the system of unshakable habits, morning meetings, fixed work hours, creative time blocks, even health routines. They understand that emotions fluctuate, but habits are the backbone. So ask yourself, what in your life right now is depending too much on emotions? Do you only study when you feel inspired? Work hard only when praised? Exercise only when in the mood? If so, you're building a house on sand, and even a small wave can wash it away. Success doesn't come from the days you feel amazing, it comes from the days you keep going when everything feels awful. The true foundation of long-term success is the ability to lock in your habits, to make them run without needing emotions. That's what will take you far. Principle 2, turn boring tasks into part of your daily routine. Here's a truth that few people want to accept. Most of the most important things that build a successful life are not exciting at all. They are repetitive, monotonous, and sometimes feel boring. Yet it's exactly those boring things that create the biggest difference. People often chase novelty, shiny ideas, thrilling plans. But life isn't shaped by occasional bursts of excitement. It's shaped by the small, dull tasks you consistently repeat day after day. Think about brushing your teeth, making your bed, tying your shoelaces. You never feel excited about these things, nor do you expect any thrill from them. Yet you still do them, simply because they become an inseparable part of your daily rhythm. And that's exactly how you should treat the important tasks for your growth. Working out, reading, planning your day, saving money, tracking expenses, journaling, learning new skills. As long as they're still just choices, you can easily delay them. But once they become obvious, like tying your shoes before stepping outside, you won't need to think or negotiate with yourself, you'll just do them. Many people don't fail because they lack ability, but because they quit once things get boring. They start with enthusiasm, see some progress, but when results slow down, when progress isn't obvious, they lose patience and chase something new. They run in circles from plan to plan, but never stick with a habit long enough to see real results. Meanwhile, those who create lasting change are the ones who accept boredom and make it part of daily living. Take exercise, for example. Everyone loves the idea of having a fit body, but how many can endure doing repetitive movements for months and years? A healthy body doesn't come from one thrilling workout. It comes from hundreds, even thousands of sessions, many of which are boring. The same goes for finances. Saving well for 1 month won't make you wealthy. Wealth is built from tracking, saving, recording every day, even when no one sees you do it. Or with reading, you can buy 10 books and feel like you've improved. But real change only happens when you read page by page, line by line, day after day, even when you're not excited. The funny thing is, the very tasks you find boring today are the ones your future self will thank you for. Writing a few lines in a journal, drinking enough water, doing simple exercises, jotting down expenses, none of these bring instant excitement. But after years, they form a strong foundation. Meanwhile, those who constantly chase novelty often miss out on long-term results because they can't handle the dullness of the process. So you need to change your perspective. Don't treat boredom as the enemy, see it as a sign that you're on the right track. When your work feels repetitive, when your habits stop being stimulating, that's when you're entering the most important phase, the phase of building sustainability. If you quit here, everything before it becomes meaningless. But if you persist, that's when you separate yourself from the majority. Ask yourself, what boring tasks are you constantly avoiding? Which habits do you know will bring results, but you keep postponing because they're not fun? That's exactly where you need to start. Because success doesn't come from short-term feelings. It comes from consistency in small, repetitive actions. When you learn to make boredom part of your life, you free yourself from dependence on motivation. You gain real freedom. Freedom from emotional swings, freedom from laziness, and freedom to move forward steadily. Principle 3, train your brain with patterns, not pressure. Most people live under constant pressure. They let tasks pile up, let time slip by without organizing, let small things stack into mountains, and then create pressure for themselves. Pressure makes even simple things feel heavy. An unanswered email turns into an obsession. A delayed task becomes a burden. They wait until the deadline is breathing down their neck before they act, and they act in stress, fatigue, and anxiety. Living this way not only drains your energy, but also clouds your clarity. But the truth is, pressure isn't something you must live with. You don't need pressure to succeed, you need patterns. A pattern helps you know what needs to be done at what time, without overthinking. When you live within a pattern, your brain doesn't have to argue with itself, doesn't have to ask daily questions like, should I do this today, or do I feel like it? You simply follow the flow, just like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes in the morning, no debate with your emotions needed. Look at your day. If you wake up without a plan, your mind falls into chaos immediately. You struggle with dozens of tiny decisions, and the process of constant decision-making drains your energy. In contrast, someone with clear patterns starts the day with ease. They know when to read, when to work on important tasks, when to exercise. Their brain doesn't need to strain under pressure, because everything already has its place. Think about professional athletes. They don't perform well because of pressure, they perform well because of patterns. Every day they train at the same time, eat in the same way, rest on schedule. When game time comes, they don't wait for emotions. Their bodies and minds are already conditioned to act. Patterns keep them stable even under stress. If you only rely on pressure, you'll always be putting out fires instead of moving forward intentionally. In today's world, pressure almost feels like an unspoken standard. People boast about being busy, about working under huge stress. But if you observe carefully, the most resilient and successful people usually have clear schedules, fixed habits, and avoid being sucked into constant emergencies. They don't live to fight pressure. They live to follow patterns. And patterns are what give them inner peace. So you need to train your brain to stick to patterns rather than wait for pressure to push you. Instead of waiting until the deadline to act, set fixed time block. Instead of piling tasks up and tackling them in panic, break them into daily steps. Instead of making decisions over and over, make the decision once and let the pattern guide you. Your brain will know what's coming, and as a result, it won't panic. Ask yourself, are you living by patterns, or are you letting pressure run your life? Each morning, do you know exactly the first thing you need to do, or are you crushed by dozens of choices? Are you acting with order, or just reacting to whatever comes at you? The answer will show you why you're exhausted and why others seem to move farther with ease. Pressure comes from chaos. Patterns bring calm. If you want long-term endurance, don't wait for pressure to push you. Build small patterns. Repeat them consistently so that each day you move forward without paying the price of stress. And once your brain gets used to patterns, you'll realize real strength doesn't come from how well you endure pressure, but from how steadily you can act without needing any pressure at all. Principle 4. Turn big ideas into repeatable actions. Most people love to dream big. They imagine a healthy body, a successful business, a free and fulfilling life. They paint bright pictures in their minds, and in that moment, they feel like they're getting closer to it. But that excitement quickly fades because reality feels so far from imagination. The goal is huge, but the path is unclear, so everything stops at a dream. The problem isn't that you lack ideas, it's that you haven't learned how to break them down. When a goal is too big, your brain gets overwhelmed. You think of hundreds of steps, thousands of obstacles, and the heaviness paralyzes you. You don't start not because you're lazy, but because you haven't turned the big into the small. The small is where action begins. Imagine you want to write a book. The thought of 50,000 words is terrifying. But if you build the habit of writing 500 words a day, then page by page, chapter by chapter, the book takes shape. Or say you want to lose 30 pounds, that number can discourage you. But if you start with a 30-minute walk each morning and one healthy meal a day, the big picture gradually becomes reality. Every great achievement is built from small bricks. A tall wall isn't raised in a day. It's built by placing brick after brick consistently. Look at startup founders. No one begins a company with an office building or millions of customers. They start with a test product, one phone call to a customer, a simple website, and then repeat the process of improvement. They don't leap. They take repeatable steps until the big idea turns real. The successful founder isn't the one with the prettiest vision, but the one who dares to turn that vision into small daily habits. If you only dream about the destination but don't act, you'll live in illusion. But if you know how to shrink it into small steps, you'll build momentum. And the amazing thing is, once you start small, repetition itself creates motivation. You write 500 words today, tomorrow you can write more. You walk 30 minutes today, then later you walk 40. Small steps build confidence, and confidence leads you to the next step. Ask yourself, which idea in your life feels so big that it paralyzes you? Is it starting a business, changing your career, learning a skill, improving your health? If it's still just a grand picture in your head, it's time to cut it into small, doable parts and start today. Instead of saying, I'll learn a new language, say, I'll learn 10 words a day. Instead of saying, I'll build a company, say, I'll call one potential customer a day. Instead of saying, I'll become a reader, say, each night before bed, I'll read 2 pages. People often think small actions don't matter, but the truth is, small actions are what change everything. You don't need to finish everything in a day, you just need to create repeatable steps. When you keep the rhythm, results come naturally. Success doesn't come from one giant leap. It comes from thousands of small steps repeated over and over. And it's repetition that creates true power. Principle 5. Build a structure that supports you when you fall. Life isn't always smooth sailing. There will be days when you wake up exhausted, your spirit drained, and you have no motivation left. Maybe you had a bad night's sleep. Maybe something unexpected happened. Or maybe you're simply worn out after a long stretch of effort. In those moments, most people lose their rhythm. One bad day turns into a sluggish week, then a downward month, and eventually they find themselves back at square one. The reason isn't weakness, it's because they lack a structure to hold them up when they collapse. Structure is the solid frame that keeps you standing when your mind wavers. It's like a set of train tracks. No matter how tired the train is, it still moves forward because the tracks are already there. Without structure, you rely entirely on emotions, and emotions are unstable, rising and falling, shattering with the smallest shock. With structure, it's different. You have fixed principles, preset habits, anchors you can cling to even when you're not at your best. Picture a chaotic morning. You wake up late, feel drained, and the work is piling up. Without structure, you'll stumble all day in disorder. But if you already have a framework, wake up at the same time, do a few light exercises, drink a glass of water, write a few lines in a journal, list 3 priorities for the day, then no matter how bad your mood is, you can still start. Those small actions keep the wheel turning and prevent you from spiraling into surrender. Look at top athletes. No one escapes injury, fatigue, or off days. But their training routines, nutrition plans, and rest schedules help them bounce back quickly. They don't have to wonder, what should I do now? They already have a system to rely on. Structure doesn't erase difficulties, but it limits damage and ensures you never fall too far. This is also true for entrepreneurs or remote workers. They face pressure, failed projects, lost clients. Without structure, outside chaos will drag them down. But with fixed meetings, journaling habits, time-blocked schedules, and set breaks, they can maintain stability even when everything around them is collapsing. Structure is the anchor that prevents them from being swept away. Now look at your own life and ask, when things fall apart, what do you cling to? Do you have a morning routine that helps you restart? Do you have a list of non-negotiable actions that you stick to no matter what? Do you have a structure to return to when you're exhausted? If not, that's exactly why one bad day easily turns into a downward spiral. Structure doesn't make life rigid, it gives you real freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want, whenever you want. Freedom is knowing that even when life is chaotic, you still have a foundation to hold on to. When you build structure, you free yourself from panic and disorientation. You don't have to start from zero every time you fall, you just get back on your track. No one can be strong 365 days a year, but with structure, you don't have to be strong all the time. You just need to return to your basic habits, do the simple things already set in place, and from there, regain momentum. That's true strength, not never falling, but always having a system to help you rise again. When you have structure, you'll never fear bad days because you know you'll never fall too far. Principle 6, replace illusions with solid daily actions. Human beings are natural dreamers. We love to imagine a better future. One day we'll have the perfect job, one day we'll be wealthy, one day we'll live freely. Those one-day dreams feel comforting, they give us the illusion of progress, when in reality we haven't moved an inch. Dreaming gives short-term satisfaction, but it's also a sleeping pill that delays real action. The difference between successful people and those who remain stuck doesn't lie in who dreams more, but in who acts daily. Failures keep their dreams floating in their heads. Successful people turn them into concrete actions. Dreams don't become reality by hope, they become reality through what you do every single day, no matter how small. If you want to write a book, you can't just say, I'll be an author. You have to sit down and write page by page. If you want to be healthy, you can't just picture a fit body, you have to train and eat with discipline every day. If you want to build a business, you can't just discuss ideas with friends, you must call customers, test products, accept failures, and try again. We often get trapped in the illusion of big plans. A detailed plan makes us feel safe, as if writing it down is already progress. But a plan without action is only ink on paper. You can fill 100 pages with startup ideas, but if you don't call the first customer, it's all fantasy. You can talk about wanting to change, but if you don't actually do something different today, tomorrow will look exactly like yesterday. In today's world, social media makes the illusion even stronger. You see shiny images, hear success stories, and feel like you're closer to it just by following along. But the truth is, only concrete actions create change. A motivational video can spark emotions, but if you don't act afterward, that feeling fades. Others can inspire you, but only action builds your future. What you need is to replace every vague thought with a tangible action. Don't say, I'll learn a new language. Start learning 10 words today. Don't say, I'll exercise regularly. Go outside and walk 15 minutes right now. Don't say, I'll write a book. Write 1 page today. Don't wait for motivation, because motivation doesn't come from dreams, it comes from action itself. When you act, you create momentum, and momentum fuels motivation to keep going. Ask yourself, How many illusions am I still holding on to without turning them into action? What have I been saying one day about for years, but haven't actually started? Why am I waiting? And if I keep waiting, will I be any different next year? Success doesn't come from what you dream of, it comes from what you do, when no one's watching, when nothing is exciting, when it's just you and your persistence. If you want to change your life, remember, dreams are the starting point, but actions are the bridge to the destination. Start today, not tomorrow. Do one small, specific thing and repeat it daily. That is the true path from illusion to reality. Principle 7, master your day to keep a clear mind. One of the biggest reasons people end up exhausted and overwhelmed is that they let their days slip by randomly. They wake up without a plan, work in reaction mode, and let others set their priorities. An email arrives, they open it. A message pops up, they respond. Someone asks, they comply. Their entire day gets pulled along, and by evening they wonder why they haven't accomplished anything meaningful. The simple truth is, if you don't control your day, someone else will control it for you. Your mind needs clarity to make the right decisions, but clarity doesn't appear by chance. It comes from an orderly day. When you know exactly what you'll do and when you'll do it, your brain is freed from trivial decisions. But if you let the day unfold randomly, you constantly ask yourself, what's next? Should I do this? And the endless decision-making drains your mental energy. Imagine the difference between someone who starts the day scrolling on their phone for 30 minutes, drowning in chaotic information, then rushing into work without knowing their priorities, versus someone who starts with a few minutes of calm, writing down the 3 most important tasks for the day. The second person doesn't waste energy choosing among dozens of options. They just follow what's already decided. That's control. And from control comes clarity. I once learned that even the smallest morning discipline can transform your entire day. Making your bed, journaling a few lines, reading a short passage, or simply taking deep breaths, these little things form the foundation of mental clarity. Because when you begin the day with intention, you send a message to yourself, I am in charge of this life, not circumstances, not other people. In today's noisy world, filled with endless information, mastering your day matters more than ever. An entrepreneur may face hundreds of meetings and emails each day, but the most consistent and effective ones follow this principle. They dedicate the first part of the day to their most important work when their mind is clear and energy is high. A content creator may be tempted by social media distractions, but if they block out focused work hours and turn off notifications, they protect the clarity needed for creativity. A student can easily get pulled into games, messages, or shows, but with a clear timetable, they study effectively without drowning in procrastination fatigue. Understand this, mental clarity isn't just a state of mind, it's the result of a structured day. If you let things happen by chance, you're like a ship without a rudder, easily swept away by the waves. But when you plan ahead, set boundaries, and know what to focus on, you become the captain. And only in that controlled state can you think clearly, make the right choices, and move forward consistently. Ask yourself, are you mastering your day or just reacting to what happens? Does your morning begin with control or with chaos? Do you know the 3 most important tasks today, or do you let the world decide for you? The answer explains why some days feel light and productive, while others leave you drained despite accomplishing little. When you control your day, you don't just gain clarity of mind, you gain confidence in action. You know where you're going, what you're doing, and why. That is the foundation of a solid life. Instead of drifting endlessly in the whirl of chaos. Principle 8, rely on structure, not motivation. Most people start their journey with motivation. They listen to an inspiring speech, read a motivational book, or watch a video that makes their hearts race. In that moment, they believe they can do anything. But a few days later, the fire fades. One tired morning, one busy schedule, one small setback, and they skip the very habit they promised to keep. They wait for motivation to return, but it doesn't. Then they conclude, I lack willpower or I'm not strong enough. The truth is, they relied on something fragile, motivation. Motivation is like the wind. Some days it blows strong and carries you far, but some days it disappears, leaving you stuck. If you let your life depend on the wind, you'll never reach your destination. What you need isn't the wind, it's the sail and the oars. That sail and those oars are structure. Structure is the set of principles and systems you build so that action doesn't depend on feelings. It's the track that keeps the train moving, whether there's wind or not. Look at people who have trained for years. They don't wake up every morning burning with excitement. They also feel tired, lazy, and unmotivated at times. But they have structure. 6 a.m. at the gym, no matter how they feel. They don't argue with emotions. They don't wait for inspiration. Structure frees them from mood swings. And because of that, they stay disciplined year after year. The same applies to work. People who rely on motivation work inconsistently. One day they do a lot, the next day nothing. Those who rely on structure are different. They set fixed hours for important tasks, follow clear processes for handling work, and protect their focus with habits. Their productivity doesn't depend on inspiration, it depends on the system. Structure turns success into a natural outcome, not a random event. In today's world, we're tempted to think we need more motivation to change our lives. We search for quotes, videos, or courses that promise to ignite the fire within. But what you really need isn't more fire, it's a steady furnace. And that furnace is structure. With structure, you don't need to constantly persuade yourself. You just follow the system, like a daily ritual that can't be skipped. Ask yourself, is your life today based more on motivation or structure? If motivation vanished tomorrow, would you still keep going? If the answer is no, then it's time to rebuild. Set time blocks for work, schedule your habits, design your environment to make action easy, and cut off dependence on feelings. Once everything becomes structure, you'll realize that success doesn't come from bursts of inspiration. It comes from the consistency of a system. Motivation may spark the start, but structure sustains the journey. Motivation may light the match, but structure keeps the fire burning. Only when you learn to rely on structure instead of motivation will you have a path strong enough to carry you far. Principle 9. Take small steps without letting emotions decide. One of the biggest traps people fall into is letting emotions dictate their actions. When they're excited, they work double or triple. When they're discouraged, they do nothing. Life then swings up and down, and progress is inconsistent, sometimes forward, sometimes backward, never stable. Living like this is like a boat drifting at sea. It only moves when the waves push and stands still when the water is calm. Success never comes from that instability. Success comes from steady, small steps, regardless of how you feel today. You don't need giant leaps to change your life. What you need is a series of small steps, repeated day after day. The problem is, many people underestimate the power of small steps. They think if it's not a big change, it's worthless. But think about this. One drop of water falling on rock leaves no mark in a day. But after thousands of days, it carves a groove. Likewise, a small action may not change much today, but with persistence, it becomes unstoppable power. Take learning a new skill. If you wait until you feel inspired, you'll study one day and quit for a month. But if you study just 20 minutes a day, no matter your mood, after a year, you'll have more than 120 hours of practice, far more than anyone driven only by fleeting emotions. Or fitness. Many go to the gym only when motivated, which is why they never see consistent results. But those who understand the power of small steps are different. They walk for 15 minutes, do a few basic moves, and repeat. That consistency, not intensity, creates true health. Work is no different. You might promise yourself to finish a big project in a week, but if you depend on emotions, you'll likely give up when motivation dips. Instead, break the project into tiny steps so small you can't refuse. Write one page, reply to one email, complete one 30-minute task. One small step, then another, brings you closer to completion without needing emotions to push you. The key is to separate action from emotion. You don't need to ask, do I feel like doing this? Because emotions will always resist hard work. Instead, ask, what small step can I take right now? And then just do it. Small steps are the antidote to procrastination. They get you started, and once you start, you often keep going. But even if you don't, you've still maintained momentum. In today's age of distractions, small steps matter even more. Social media, news, and endless diversions can pull you in. But if you keep just one small daily action, reading a few pages, jotting down notes, completing one short task, you'll move farther than most people who let emotions lead. Because emotions are unpredictable, but small steps are dependable. Ask yourself, how many times have you delayed just because you weren't in the mood? How many opportunities have you missed because your emotions weren't right? And if you keep letting emotions decide, will you ever reach your big goals? The answer is clear. So instead of asking, do I feel like doing this today? Declare, I will do it today, even if it's just one small step. Life isn't built on bursts of emotion, it's built on steady, small steps. When you learn to move forward regardless of how you feel, you become the one in control of your journey, no longer a victim of your moods. Principle 10, build a system that still works even when you fail. None of us can avoid failure. There will be times when you fall off track, skip a workout, eat the wrong meal, procrastinate on a task, or even make a bigger mistake. Many people think failure means the end, that one misstep erases all their effort. That mindset is what truly makes them quit. They don't realize the problem isn't failure itself. It's not having a system smart enough to bring them back when failure happens. A sustainable system isn't one that demands perfection. It's a system that expects mistakes, knows you'll slip, and is designed to pull you back immediately. Imagine building a long road. If there's a pothole and you fall in, but there's a ramp right next to it, you'll climb back and keep moving. But if the road has no return path, one fall can stop you forever. A good system is that ramp that lets you rise quickly. For example, if your goal is work out 5 times a week and you miss one session, you may think it's ruined and skip the rest of the week. But if your system is never miss more than 2 days in a row, then missing once isn't a disaster, it's part of the process. Or with eating habits. If you slip at a party, your system reminds you that the very next meal is your reset point. No guilt, no quitting. In work, some missed deadlines and collapse under guilt. But those with systems ask, what's the next step to fix this? They keep an emergency action list to get back on track. Their system isn't built on always being right, it's built on recovering faster than anyone else. Success isn't walking a straight path without stumbling. It's the ability to bounce back quicker each time you do. Modern life pressures us into chasing perfection. On social media, everyone shares only their best moments, making you believe that only perfect people succeed. But reality is the opposite. Successful people fail often, but they've built systems that always pull them back. They don't let small mistakes ruin the journey. They allow themselves to fall, but never to stay down. Ask yourself, does your system allow room for failure? Or are you living with the impossible expectation of being perfect every day? If perfection is your only strategy, you'll always be disappointed because failure is inevitable. But if you build a system that embraces failure and brings you back instantly, you'll become unbeatable. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's resilience. A resilient system doesn't prevent you from falling, it ensures you rise faster each time. And it's that consistency in bouncing back that will take you farther than anyone else. We've just walked through 10 principles to build systems instead of just setting goals. And I want you to remember, success doesn't come from short bursts of excitement. It comes from strong systems you maintain daily. Look at yourself and ask, which of these principles do you need to start with today? See, no system demands perfection. They all revolve around consistency, resilience, and the ability to come back after each setback. What matters isn't how many goals you set, but whether you have a system strong enough to take you there. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Among these 10 principles, which one will you apply first? Share it in the comments because speaking it out loud is the first step to committing to yourself. And if you found these lessons valuable, hit the like button to spread the message, click subscribe to join us on Jim Rohn Treasures, and share this video with those who need a system to change their lives. As I often say, success is not a destination, it's the journey you persist through each day. And I believe with these principles, you now hold both the map and the real road to move forward. See you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring timeless lessons to build a meaningful and successful life.